I'm Victor Fernandez of Fernandez Fit, and I'm here to show you why fitness is our business. Hello and welcome once again to the Healthy Lives, Healthy Business podcast. I am your host, Victor Fernandez, and I appreciate you joining me as you do each and every week. And I appreciate having my special guest join me today of all days, because after the life-altering in many cases and life-threatening in other cases weather conditions that southeastern North Carolina has endured this week, it's fitting that my next guest is an insurance agent. Now, if you subscribe to the show, and if you don't, let's change that by clicking the old subscribe button. And this is a show you definitely want to listen to from start to finish, because my next guest has been in the insurance industry for 4 years, and specifically with Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company for 2+ years now. He takes a service-first approach to helping his customers achieve the peace of mind we all want, because insurance of any kind is something we pay for but hope to never have to use, and we can become very stressed when unfortunate instances occur which lead to insurance coming into play. His selfless mentality comes from spending most of his working life in the hospitality industry, where he offers unmatched customer service and passion to protect as many families as humanly possible. And he will also share with us how he takes care of himself so he can be at his best for his family at home and for his customers. Anyone who does that gets much respect from me, and this man certainly has my respect. Please welcome to the show, Johnny Foust. Johnny, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Victor. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm glad to hear we spoke off air about how your family came out relatively unscathed from the storm, and thankfully we did as well by the skin of our teeth. But talk a little bit about. I know when we talk together at BNI, when you get up and do your 45-second elevator pitch, a lot of times you're talking about the personal side of insurance, which is great, because for a lot of people, insurance is not something we want to talk about, not even something we want to think about. But when we can connect people to it and show the importance of it and what it can do for us, how important is it to get that point across and get people to understand the personal side of what you do and how you help people?
Victor, I think a lot of it comes down to really getting to know, when you're saying personal, getting to know that person individually. Because yourself, Victor, you and your family, whether it's P&C, your auto, your home, or your life insurance portfolio, is going to be completely different than even your neighbor right next door to you. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to it for me, it has nothing to do with me and what I need or what my family needs. It has to do with what you and your family need individually. And I think that's what going back to the hospitality thing, it's the same thing as when I came from the restaurant industry. One table's needs going to be completely different than the next table's. So, the approach, like you said, that I bring service wise, I try to individualize that and not try to take a past case and implement that exact same scenario into the next case. And that's what I love about it, is because every day and every case and every opportunity is completely different. And it helps me sharpen my axe by allowing me the opportunity to, really delve into that person below the surface level and really get to know how they tick as a person.
I know, like I said earlier, for insurance purposes, most people don't want to think about it, and they certainly hope they never have to use it, whatever type of insurance it is, whether it's auto, home, life insurance. But after you have an experience like we all did during this recent storm, we're getting so much rain and so much flooding and so much devastation along the way. Do you see more people really having insurance become even more top of mind than maybe it was prior?
Not necessarily, because I think what we do as a company as a whole, we try to reiterate that. And I hate to constantly, when I'm sitting down with people, I feel like I'm always the worst case scenario kind of guy. But, unfortunately, as we just saw on Monday, you can't always go rainbows and butterflies. And, and I'll tell you, I like to say a lot of times, you might not like to hear what I have to say, but it's important for you to hear it, because at the end of the day, if I try to go with the coverage that you want and the money that you want to pay for the premium, Yeah, that's all well and good until something like this happens, and then at the end of the day, you're coming back to me because you're going to not remember the conversation that we had. Me telling you, hey, you need more coverage, you need more of this, you don't have enough life insurance, whatever the case may be. You're going to come back to me and go, why didn't you have me get another $1 million of life insurance? Why didn't you ask me to get another $200,000 of insurance on my property? Those are kind of those hard conversations you have to have with people. And at the end of the day, my conscience is clear knowing that I offered that to you. If you don't take it, that's on you, not on me, unfortunately.
How important is it to express clearly and concisely the importance of not making the premium be the be all and end all of a decision that a family makes? I know for me, I've had the same insurance agent for over 2 decades. And I know that along the way, I probably could have spent less money in premium or policy or whatever. But I always understood because he always helped me understand the importance of peace of mind and understanding when something like this, God forbid, if something had happened to our home, I at least know that we would be in good shape because of the policy that we have in place for our homeowners insurance. So even though I was worried, didn't want
Mm-hmm.
anything to happen, I also understood we were in good hands. And it wasn't necessarily because of the policy itself, but also the person who backs it up, the person who's helping our family and has for so many years. How important is that when you're talking about gaining the trust of people to get them to understand that yes, you may be paying more in premium, but when the rubber meets the road and now you need to have that insurance policy kick into place, now you know you're going to be covered and you have that peace of mind to fall
Well,
back on.
I think when you say that, I've actually told a lot of people lately, Victor, that so many people come in when I do my annual review with them every year, and I'm newer to Farm Bureau and to doing these reviews, so especially now that they don't necessarily know me as well yet. I constantly have the conversation with people that come in and go, "Man, my premium is so much. Why is it so expensive?" Once we actually go through the review and I explain to them what those premiums stand for and what those coverages mean for them and their family, honestly, 99 times out of 100, maybe, well, okay, we'll say 95 times out of 100, I'll have those people either go with the higher limits that I've recommended on their auto and homeowners insurance, or at least not be willing or wanting to, downgrade it at that point in time. They understand that they have a better understanding that, once again, going back to the worst case scenario, if something were to happen, you know, this is what these limits mean. If you have an accident that's, let's say your lower limit for bodily injury is 100,000, you do $150,000 worth of bodily injury to somebody, where's that other 50,000 going to come from? Because the insurance company's not going to pay for it. And once you kind of put them into that perspective of that scenario, I think it starts clicking to them to say, oh, okay, this makes a lot more sense to me now. And then on the other side of it, Victor, when it comes to the life insurance side, we go through a process. Once again, this isn't about me and what the premium is and how this is going to benefit me. The byproduct is what I make off of it. But at the end of the day, knowing that when you left that day and we set up that $1 million life insurance policy that completely fulfills your need, which nowadays with inflation, who's to say $1 million would fulfill anyone's need? But at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, knowing that we got as much as you can afford with the money that you currently have, to make sure that, God forbid, that day that something like Monday would happen, and if something happens and somebody doesn't make it home to their family, that when a lot of people are bringing casseroles and meal trains, I'm bringing $1 million check to the family. Nothing wrong with casseroles and meal trains, but at the end of the day, which one's going to protect their family for longer?
I'm glad you brought up life insurance specifically, and I'll share a quick story with you that I've shared with a lot of people since this happened when my father passed away last November. Shortly before that is when I learned that they had no life insurance. Now, they had built a very nice nest egg for themselves, so they weren't poor by any stretch of the imagination. But my belief was, you've worked so hard to build this great nest egg for your family. Why would you want to just give it away when you have expenses, both while you're still alive, your health and wellness or long-term care, but also after his death. I mean, I'm not afraid to share that it cost $30,000 to
Wow.
bury him and have a proper funeral. It's like, did they have the money to afford it? Sure, they did. But was even a little bit of life insurance to cover those
Mhm.
expenses? Why would you want to just hand over that kind of money, when you've worked so hard for it and works and put so many years in? And the first thing I did after burying my dad was go look and see, how much life insurance do I have? Is it enough? Like you just mentioned earlier, with the rate of inflation nowadays, is that $1 million policy going to be like $1 million, or does it need to be two? Because it's going to feel like half a million
Yeah.
instead, based on inflation. How important is it to get people to understand that, yes, we don't necessarily want to think about or even want to use our policies. I would love to never have to use my homeowner's insurance policy. I would love to never have to use my life insurance policies. But there will come a day when sooner or later we're going to face that scenario. How important is it to get to people to understand that, you know you you have to change with the times. You have to understand that what you have right now may not be enough for later, and you have to be prepared not just for today, but what happens down the road.
I think once again, going back to that individual scenario where you're
Mm-hmm.
talking to an individual, whether it's someone like your situation that's experienced it, or someone who maybe hasn't experienced it, or they're so young they don't think they're ever going to experience it. We were 25, 27 at one point in time, and you're like, man, I've got my whole life to be able to get this life insurance policy. I don't have a family. I don't have anybody dependent upon me yet. But, one thing that I like to tell a lot of people, and I think it really gets to people, is, two things. One, um, you know, life insurance is the one kind of insurance that you can't get when you actually need it the most. If you get into a bad car accident, it's your fault. Yeah, that insurance company might drop you, but you know what? There's going to be somebody, you might be paying a lot for it, but there's going to be somebody that's going to be willing to insure you. You go to the doctor, and all it takes is one doctor's appointment. You go to the doctor and you find out you have, stage 3 cancer that's uncurable. There's no life insurance company you're going to be able to go to the next day who's going to be willing to, no matter how much that you want to pay for it. There's not anyone who's ever going to give you a policy in that situation. So getting it while you're young and healthy kind of goes into what we're talking about today. But,
Mm-hmm.
when you're young and healthy, your premium's never going to get any better. And like I said, I always tell people, I say, when we're applying for it, that's a guess. Like, we have no idea. We are throwing stuff at the wall and hoping that it sticks. But at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
that's just a guess on, what exactly is um, the underwriter is going to find, because everybody's going to tell you, just like in auto insurance, oh no, I haven't had any speeding tickets or accidents in the past 10 years, and oh, I forgot about that $30,000 claim I had last year. So I mean, it's just kind of one of those things that, when it comes to go back to your question, is, it's you the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. I can only do so much. And also, piggybacking off of what I said before, if I give you every scenario and we sit down and you're hesitant to do an application, and I've answered all your questions, I've overcome all of your objections of, you know, not enough money, no time, or no need, which obviously I've already done your needs analysis. We know that there is a need for everyone to have life insurance, unless you are completely financially set to where you're self-insured completely, which, what's the percentage of Americans that have that capability right now? It's probably slim to none. um,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, we have a specific guideline that we go by, whether it's auto, home, life, long term care, health insurance. I mean, disability insurance. There's a whole laundry list of things that Farm Bureau as a whole does. But if I dot all my I's and I cross all my T's and I go over that with you, we can't come to an agreement upon that, unfortunately, in my position, I have to look at that as, hey, I did everything that I could in this instance. And then also on the other side of that, Victor, is, typically it's not a never, it's just a not right now. And I have to view it as, I don't know what that person has going on personally that is making them not want to pull the trigger and make that decision. Whether it's like what you're saying, there's somebody who doesn't like to think about life insurance, they don't want to think about death. But, moving forward with that, I tell people a lot of times, I say, look, the good thing about this is if we fulfill your need, yes, you're going to have life changes. But if we fulfill your need now, you won't have to think about this potentially ever again. We're going to make sure that you are going to wake up tomorrow knowing that your family's protected. And 10 years down the road, if something were to happen to you and you still have that policy in force, and you were to pass away in a car accident, not come home to see your family, that you did everything you could to protect your family to make sure that they don't have to move out of their house. They can still play, hockey, soccer, baseball, travel sports, whatever they need to do, and they don't ever have to give up any of that lifestyle. Yeah, I can't bring you back, unfortunately. I can't take away the emotional part of it, but I can guarantee you that same day that you're disappointed and upset that that person's not there anymore, your very next thought, unfortunately, is going to be, how the heck am I going to pay off this house and pay these bills?
Yeah, oh, 100%. And I'm glad you mentioned a short time ago about, dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's, getting people past all their objections. It's very similar to what I run into on a daily basis. We all know. I mean, you know it. You're a physically fit guy. You're health conscious. You work out. You eat healthy. You do all the right things. And so you
Mhm.
understand this fact as well as I do, is that if somebody doesn't want to deal with mentally and emotionally deal with the fact that, you need to be healthy. Look at you right now. How is it impacting your life? How is it impacting your family's life? How is it impacting your career or your business? We all know that that's the health and well-being. That's the top of
Mhm.
the pyramid, and everything else below it is impacted, whether positively or
Mhm.
negatively. And for a lot of people, and I've seen both sides of that of that triangle, of that
Mhm.
pyramid. I know what it was like when I was at my heaviest and unhealthiest, and wondering if I was going to be around long enough to see my youngest child grow up, to see my oldest boys have careers and families of their own. Talk about, for you, how you implement your health and fitness routine and your mindset into your daily life, knowing that having insurance is great, but taking proactive steps to make sure that you're at your healthiest is just as important, if not more so.
Well, as we've talked about before in some of our, meetings
Mm-hmm.
before and after, um, you know, it, it's a routine for me. If I don't get up every morning and go to the gym, it's like my whole day is thrown off. And I feel like I'm not doing yes, I am doing myself a disservice because I'm not getting up and getting my day going and waking up early and doing the things that I need to do for myself personally. But I'm doing my clients a disservice because I'm not as sharp as I could be because I slept in that morning, would rather sit at the house and watch TV and drink coffee that morning rather than getting up, getting my sweat on, doing what I need to do to get myself, because my mind is so much clearer in the morning when I get up and I go to the gym and I get my heart rate up and I do those things and I come home, get myself ready for work, and I'm focused, I'm ready to go. As opposed to if I sit around the house, my heart rate didn't get over 60, BPM. And I'm just like, it just throws my whole day off. I just feel like, during the week, especially if that happens to me, that, I'm doing everyone a disservice. Like I'm not taking care of myself, which means that at that point in time, I may not be sharp enough to overcome some of those objections or do some of those things that I would have thought of if I would have gotten up, gotten my day going. I know for a lot of people it sounds crazy, but you get yourself into a routine like that, and then you throw yourself off one day for whatever that could be. And sometimes that snowballs into your whole day is just off of a routine. And you just look back at 4 o'clock and go, what the hell did I do with my day today? I feel like it was just in a fog all day and I wasn't able to focus on what I needed to. So yeah, health and, eating right and doing all that. Cause I mean, I'll tell you, I think it's one of those things too, that it goes hand in hand where you have the fitness side of it and the eating side of it, that, you have one of those cheat days and cheat meals. You just don't want that to turn into a cheat week or a cheat month or a cheat year, or a cheat decade. I mean, um, so, and I mean, it happens like that. I mean, I'll tell you a story from when I was a lot younger. I mean, I used to go. I was in the restaurant business for a long time, as we've touched on, and of course, Friday and Saturday were our busy days. Well, I would go to the YMCA Sunday through Thursday. I mean, I don't have the workout routine that I have now, but I would be in there. I would do different body groups. I'd go Sunday through Thursday. I was like 25 years old or something like that. So about a whole high school career from now. But it was Easter Sunday. And of course, the Y, which is a Christian organization, was closed on that Sunday. I didn't go back to the gym for 3 years because I missed one day. So it's
Wow.
just, and I can tell, going back to what we were saying with like cheating and all that, it's like, if I have one cheat meal and then the next day I say eat a salad and I keep it a lighter meal, like in the middle of the day, I am so much more energized after eating a meal like that than I did eating a burger from mess hall or something like that. So it's just, I try,
Mhm.
and I'm human and life gets in the way, but I try to do my best to keep myself in more of a stringent routine. I know I need to get better at meal prepping, and maybe you can give me some guidance on that. But
I
but
certainly
but
can.
yeah, I mean, for me, I think it just comes down to discipline, and I think everything in your life has to be kept into that discipline, and discipline doesn't have to be boring. I mean, I have a good time at the gym every morning. I have a I don't get depressed when I have to eat a salad for lunch one day. You know, so for me, I mean, implementing that health into my lifestyle now, I mean, I couldn't see any other way of taking care of myself than how I am now.
I love that story that you shared because it really is that easy. I don't think people realize that. Oh, I missed today. I'll be fine. I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and the same
Mhm.
mindset is already
Mhm.
firmly in place. And then next thing you know, the more days that
Yeah.
pass, the further it gets from top of mind and we forget about it. And like you said, you look up one day, I mean, I haven't been to the gym in
Yeah.
3 years. And I've been there. I've been there. I've done that. I was the hamster on the wheel going 100 miles an hour, but not getting anywhere. I'd go for two,
Mhm.
3 months, try to do something my body was not physically
Mhm.
capable of doing for any long period of time. I would get frustrated. I'd quit. I wouldn't go for 6 months. And then I'd try that all over again as if, like the definition of insanity, I was going to somehow get different
Right.
results. And it just doesn't work that way. And I think for a lot of people, and it's fun. I love having conversations with people about this, both people who understand this,
Mhm.
like you do, and with people who are more novices along these lines. And I love talking, especially to people who don't understand it quite as well, who look at you like I'm going to expect you to eat tofu and rice cakes 7 days a week for every
Mhm.
meal, be in the gym for 6 hours a day, only have like 300 calories a day, and give up everything and anything that
Mhm.
you like for the rest of
Mhm.
your life. It's almost to that extreme. And when I tell people, no, you can actually enjoy some of the things that you like, and actually eat. I love the facial expressions I get from clients when I tell them, "Hey, you're eating this much. I need you to eat
Mhm.
this much." And it's like a kid on Christmas morning. I can eat that
Mhm.
much and lose weight at the same time. It's like, yeah, that's kind of how it works. And I think people have gotten such a, I don't call it bizarre because that's bad, but it's such a strange way of viewing health and fitness. I'll share this
Mhm.
quick story with you. I once had, when I was living in Maryland, I had a garage gym, much like I do right now. And there was a young mother walking with her young son, walking right past the front of my garage, and I was working out. And the little boy couldn't have been more than 3, 4 years old, says to his mom, and I could hear him, he goes, "Mom, what is that man doing?" "Oh, don't worry, son, he's just a health nut." And it's and well, I laughed, number one, because it was amusing and I'm not easily offended. But then it made me think, I said, when did being healthy and being concerned about your well-being and wanting to have it be as quality as it possibly can be, when did it become abnormal? When did it become not the norm anymore? And I know, obviously for you, through the hospitality
Yeah.
industry, the restaurant industry, for me, for working in sports journalism, where the hours were
Mhm.
nuts and they were
Mhm.
late, just like yours were. I think back and like, how did it all change from then to here, and wonder why is that the way I
Right.
led my life back then? Why was that the norm? Why is that still the norm? And it's amazing to me how that is. So how did you deal with it back in those days? Because my wife was in the hospitality industry for a few years working in hotels. You were in the restaurant industry. So I've seen that side and how it all works. How did you balance it all? Because it's not your typical 9 to 5 job where your hours are all over the
Yeah.
place.
For me, it probably goes back to my family history. A lot of my family's overweight, diabetic, heart disease, cancers, things like that. A lot of that I attribute to diet, exercise, lifestyle, and things like that. So I think for me, you know, when it came to going back to our last conversation, it's just kind of one of those things about discipline for me. I mean, it's more of, there were times, especially when I became a manager and I was working the 70 hours a week. A lot of that came down to me, uh, you know, just, I hate to say it, but either getting up early or waiting until I drop my daughter off at my mother-in-law's house or something like that. A lot of times I even started where I would, get a gym membership at a 24-hour place, and, traffic getting across town was a lot better at 9:30 at night. So I would just go right after work. And that was typically my routine. Now, fortunately, I'm able to have a normal schedule and able to go to bed. And because I think really not only the workout, but, if I'm only getting 4 hours of sleep, to get up and go to the gym, I'm not doing myself a service getting up and going to the gym on such limited sleep. So I try to keep myself at about a 7 hour sleep schedule. I try to get myself up every morning. And the good thing is I feel like I'm pretty good about holding myself accountable. I don't need somebody at the gym or a buddy to, try to, no, I don't like to use the word beat me up, but you know what I'm saying? Like, be like, oh man, you didn't make it to the gym today. So, for me,
Make you feel
I try to
guilty.
just hold myself accountable with that kind of stuff and just be like, you know what? Because I'll tell you, I'm very hard on myself without somebody else being. So if I don't go that day, or if I felt like I didn't put in my 100%, then I'm going to remember that, and I'm going to go over that and overanalyze that in my head worse than anybody who could ever say anything to me about it. So it just kind of, keeping that routine. And obviously the good thing about it is I feel like for me, I've been able to be flexible with, the different jobs that I've had. And honestly, I have to attribute a lot of it to my amazing wife that's willing to get my daughter up in the morning and get her ready. And literally all I have to do is come home from the gym, get myself ready, and then take her, because she's already got everything ready for me. So for me, it's really taken a good partner that's been there to understand where I'm trying to get to and where I am currently. And to know that, the sacrifices that I'm making by going when I do are attributed by the sacrifices she makes by being the one that gets them up in the morning, gets my daughter ready and everything. So, I can't really say that it's all just me. She really is, my right hand, and really has helped me out a lot. And she supports me in wanting to do that. And, my payback is being able to allow her to stay home with the kids and helping out with that side. So it's kind of been a great, you know, mutual what is it, a symbiotic relationship between the two of us, where she understands that, hey, this is how I have to get my day going to make sure that I'm able to do everything that I need to do to take care of my clients. um and really,
As the saying
well, go ahead,
goes,
go ahead. No,
go
you're
ahead. I was going to say, as the saying goes, it takes a village, even when we're
exactly.
adults.
Well, and I think, one of the things when you were talking earlier, it's like, there's two different quotes that I like to attribute to myself and other people. It's, you're either going to pay for it now, or you're going to pay for it later. And then the other side of it too is, you hear people like you're saying, oh man, it's so hard to do this, it's so hard to do that, it's so hard to keep myself on track and do all this and that. But I try to ask myself, which hard would I rather have? Would I rather have the hard that
Mm-hmm.
it's hard for me to get up in the morning and go to the gym and start my day off that like that, or would I rather have the hard that I'm foggy half the day and it takes me till noon to really wake up, and then I've limited myself to 5 hours, or having to work later and spend less time with my family because it's taking me that much longer to get my day going? Which hard would I rather have to deal with on a daily basis?
Well, I hear it all the time about, oh, it's so expensive to eat healthy. And frankly, nowadays it's just expensive to
Yeah.
eat, period. But same thing. Let's weigh our options here. Yes, it might be more expensive to eat healthier foods, buying your fruits and vegetables and things like that. But what's more expensive? I'm thinking it's all the meds that we end up taking. It's all the doctor visits, it's all the procedures, it's all those medical appointments, and just our overall health and well-being. At my worst, getting out of bed was
Mhm.
hard, much less being a productive member of my
Mhm.
family, a productive member of society. It was hard enough just to get out of bed, and I was in my 30s, and I felt like I was 20, 30 years older, and it just shouldn't have been that way. But I allowed it to happen, and so many people do. And I share with people all the time. It's as simple as this analogy. If I put an apple and a bag of chips in front of you, I bet there's not a single person on this planet, or certainly not in this country, who doesn't know which one they
Mhm.
should eat. So why is over 40% of our population considered obese and over 70% considered overweight? It's not because we don't know the basics. It's because we either don't want to, or we don't understand how to handle it all, or we just don't want to think about it. And unfortunately, for too many of us, we don't think about it until something happens. We don't think about, do we have enough homeowners insurance, or do we have flood
Mhm.
insurance? I'm not in a flood zone. I didn't need to have it, but you can best believe that I got it the moment we bought this
Yep.
house. You know, but so many people wait until their house is underwater, to decide, oh, I needed flood insurance. Or they wait until they get into a real bad accident and hurt somebody to realize, oh man, I should have had, more insurance, more
Mhm.
auto insurance, or hire this or hire that. It's amazing how we've become such a reactive as opposed to
Well,
proactive society.
honestly, I think, Victor, that's part of it. But I took
Mm-hmm.
a psychology class in college a few years back, and I think a lot of it too really has to do with a lot of people really never think that it's ever going to happen to them. Whether it's that one, like you're saying though, it's like that when we were talking about the missing the one day and then I didn't go back for 3 years. When you eat that first bag of chips and then you're like, well, I didn't see myself gain any weight. Let me eat the next bag of chips. And then let me eat the next bag of chips.
Yeah,
And the next thing you know, 20 years down the road, you've got, carotid arteries and, you can't freaking move off the couch because all the bags of chips you ate that you did nothing about, you know?
yeah.
So, and going back to
No,
like what you're saying too with the insurance side of it, it's just like, when people, when you look at it like that, like I said, they go into it. Oh man, that's never going to happen to me until it does. Oh, that's never going to happen to my house until it does. So, or I'm always going to make it home. I think when it comes to life insurance, when you've fulfilled all of those objections and they have nowhere else to go, I think at the end of the day, those are the same people, whether they're 25 or they're 55, those are going to be the same people that are always going to look at it as, I hate to say it, but they just never think that that's going to happen to them. They're always going to be there for their family, or what you hear a lot of, which is crazy to me. Oh, they can just bury me in the backyard. I'm like, well, that's not legal, but that's okay.
my dad used to say, just sit me up in the
Yeah,
corner, up against the
yeah,
wall or
yeah.
something. It's like, yeah, that's
No,
not morbid.
no.
That's not morbid at all.
So, but and that's the thing is,
Uh,
that's another thing too that you say that because a lot of people think, oh my god, I'm getting ready to go have this conversation about life insurance and it's going to be so morbid and so this and that, but at the end of the day, I try to make it fun. I mean, I know talking about
mhm.
death isn't fun, but I try to veer them away from talking about death and focus more on the positive things that come about of having that life insurance if you do die you know and like we've talked about before, I mean, typically in most situations you're never going to be any healthier than you are today. So if you don't have anything, like I've said earlier in this conversation, is all it takes is one doctor's appointment to find out that you have something that you're never going to be able to come back from. That, you know, would you rather go ahead and set something up now, knowing that your family's protected, and if you do have something like that come up in, you know, a year, 6 months, 2 years, whatever the case may be, that you can go to bed knowing that you locked in that rate, that you did everything you could for your family? Or pick your hard. Would you rather have done that and had that hard conversation, or wake up every day knowing that you'll never be able to do that to protect your family again? And what are they going to do when you pass away?
Yeah, 100%.
So,
100%. For those of you out there who have been to our BNI Leland group, that's how Johnny and I first met, was through our Brunswick Business Builders BNI group. You'll know that he'll openly say that I don't want to just stand up here and talk about insurance all the time. You know, he'd rather talk about life than life
mhm.
insurance. You know, so I'm going to throw a curveball at you in, you know, with
Okay.
that in mind. And I want to ask you the question, the very simple question, or maybe it's not. Who is Johnny Foust?
Um, so gosh, that's a interesting one. Um, no, you know what? Honestly, I'm a very laid back, easygoing, fun loving father, Christian husband, you know, dad, golfer, CrossFitter. I mean, I like to have a good time, man. I like to make work fun. I like to cut up, joke, you know, maybe make some backhanded comments every once in a while. But I mean, you know, it's okay. It makes everybody, you know, it I think, you know, with all the stuff we see in the news and all the stuff we see, like what happened Monday, that's unexpected, like not having fun and, you know, being a God fearing person, I think is a boring, awful life to have, unfortunately. And yeah, I mean, I have goals and ambitions, and you know, I want to be the father figure and the protector of my family that you know, maybe I didn't always have as a kid growing up, and being able to give my kids the things. And I mean, I'm sure you're right there with me, being able to provide for your family the things that weren't always provided for me, but always being grounded in understanding where I came from. You know, and I think that's really what has been the most fulfilling and difficult thing for me to overcome as an insurance agent, because coming from where I came from, you know, it's hard to try to, for me personally, to tell somebody, hey, you can afford $1,000 a month life insurance policy, because growing up, we couldn't shoot. We probably didn't make $1,000 a month, period. Um, so for me to be able to overcome that and know that, but also, like I said, you know, being able to remember where I came from, but also keep my kids fulfilled with what they need. But also, you know, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure you know it, with having your son being a teenager, you know, I think a lot of it comes
Mm-hmm.
from, you know, letting them understand the value of a dollar. Don't just give them everything. Let them work for what they have, like we've had to. I think that's very important with these kids these days, because I think we just handle so much without understanding how we acquired it. But for me personally, like I said, man, I just like to have a good time, man. Yeah, I'm a sensitive guy. I mean, you know, I'll cry at cat commercials sometimes, uh, but at the end of the day, you know, I try to cover that up with laughter a lot of times too. But no, man, I just like to have a good time, man. I like to meet new people, and because you just never know what relationships are going to grow out of saying hi to somebody, or you never know what, you know, somebody's bad day that you won't notice it turns around by you just basically being kind to that person that day. And I think that's just really important. And with the social media digital age, we're kind of getting away from that, which I think, you know, we'll go down that rabbit hole another day. I think it's intentional. But I really think that that, you know, we just all got to be kind and nice to each other, man. And I appreciate, you know, friendships like yours that, you know, are unexpected, and we come from different generations, but we can find ways to, you know, come to a compromise for maybe our differences that we
Mm-hmm.
may have or may not have. So
Yeah, 100%. I firmly believe, love where you are, love where you're headed, and love where you've come
thanks,
from.
man. Me too.
You know, and that's big, because it's it all. when you put it all together, that's what makes who
Yeah.
we are individually. And I 100% agree. Don't get me started on social media. It is a rabbit hole that I try to avoid going down as much as humanly possible. But yeah, there you see highlights. You don't see the
Hmm.
real thing. You don't see the
For
full
sure.
story, and that's why I enjoy doing shows
Yeah.
like this and being able to really dig deep and really get to know people and have them get to know
Yeah.
me and all that great stuff like that. And it's been, like I said at the opening, you're somebody I truly admire and respect for who you are and what you do, because it's not an easy job
Thank
what
you.
you do. You obviously, there's a sensitive nature to it that not everybody can
Hmm.
do, and you obviously do it very well.
Thank you.
So,
Appreciate that.
well, I appreciate that. And on that note, and I could go on for forever, but who wants to sit here and listen to a 3 hour podcast?
Yeah.
So so before we wrap things up, go ahead. And obviously, after what happened on Monday, people are going to be a little more hyper aware of how much insurance do I
Hmm.
actually have. So where can they find you on the internet, social media, all that good stuff, so they can reach out to you and get some more information and more wisdom from you?
Yeah, thanks, Victor. First of all, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to, get on the podcast and join you. I was a little reluctant at first, but then, once we had talked to Carl too, I love talking, but this is a little obviously outside of my realm of comfort. But, hey, you gotta, one of the things that I like to say is you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's what life's all about too. So, but no, shoot, I don't care. I'll blast it out there. I mean, people want to call me on my cell phone. They're more than welcome to. That's the value I like to bring to the table as an insurance agent, is just the fact of I want to be accessible to you, because I know a lot of times, a lot of companies, you're 9 to 5. You call outside of that, you're calling an 800 number. You really don't get to speak to a real person that understands your situation. So me personally, when it comes down to it, you can either reach me at my cell phones, 910-619-2042. My email address is, if you can see my name at the bottom, it's my first name dot last name. So Johnny dot Foust at NCFBINS. That's short for North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance, NCFBINS.com. And if you go to social media, it's Johnny Foust Insurance Services Inc. Or Johnny Foust North Carolina Farm Bureau, I believe it actually is. So, like you said, I'm not good with social media. I'd rather give my personal stuff and then get them to figure it out from there. But no, yeah, I mean, I really am passionate about what I do. You know, I, I love the company I work for because they are very family, faith, and Farm Bureau oriented. And it's usually in that order. It should be faith, family, Farm Bureau, but whichever way you want to look at it, those two kind of go hand in hand. Family and faith, I kind of count that as one. But yeah, I mean, for me personally, I think it's important to have that personal relationship with your insurance agent, because between insurance, the restaurant business, and lawyers, those three things I feel like are the three industries that, people feel like you're going to try to screw them out of something. And I just want to give people that peace of mind to know that, they're not going to get screwed out of something. We're going to give you the best coverages that you need. So, when it goes back to insurance for me, yeah, I know nobody ever wants to talk about it until they need to talk about it, and nobody ever wants to have to use insurance like you're saying, but you want to make sure you have the coverage that you need, and the worst day, if you actually do need to use it, that it's there for you to be able to use. So yeah, so that's
One
about it.
hundred percent. 100%. Well, thanks again to Johnny Foust for being on the show with us. Thanks to all of you for listening in, of course. If you need to get in touch with Johnny, he's a great guy. He's a genuine guy that exuded throughout this show. So reach out to him. He's going to tell you exactly what you need. He's going to put it in a very compassionate and passionate way, and whether you work with him or not, and you should, but whether you work with him or not, he's going to treat you right 100% of the time. And that's all you could ever ask of anyone, regardless of industry that they're in. Johnny, thank you once again. I appreciate it. Folks, check out the show notes where you can reach out to Johnny. Certainly subscribe to the show, leave a great review. And of course, as always, Share it with anyone and everyone you cross paths with in life, because fitness, like insurance, is our business. Thanks so much for listening. I hope what we've shared on this show truly resonates with you. If you want to learn more about the health and fitness services I provide, head to my website, fernandezfit.com. If you're ready to connect with me about health and fitness coaching, send an email to info@fernandezfit.com or a text to 814-504-7774. And of course, you can find me all across social media, Victor Fernandez 123 on Facebook, Fernandez Fit on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, as well as the Healthy Lives, Healthy Business channel on YouTube. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, always remember, fitness is our business.